Her phone was found near her home on McCullough, just a half a mile or so from her home on Almas.
So how could a man like Brad Simpson put a crown on his young daughter's head 1 year and the very next year be accused of harming her mother? I've been really digging into the case of Suzanne Simpson out of Texas, out of Bexar County. I'm really reminding myself not to call it Bexar County. That's the way it's spelled. But this case is terrifying. So Brad Simpson just crowned his daughter as queen during the 62nd annual Gardenia Club coronation in the fall of 2023. I believe the date was November 7th, 2023. The crowning of this young girl, I won't mention her name, by her father, Brad Simpson. That's what the caption says. And now it's nearly 1 year later. Today is Saturday, October 12th, 2024, as I record this. Brad is sitting in the Bexar County Jail with many people believing he may have ended the life of his 51-year-old wife, Suzanne Simpson.
Hi, I'm Suzanne. I've been in real estate for 13 years. This listing that is now pending has been a great transaction because I was personally friends with the buyers and the sellers.
It's very sad case. It's really reminding a lot of us of the Suzanne Morphew, Barry Morphew case out of Colorado. We know Suzanne Morphew was found unalive, unfortunately, and her husband was arrested for her murder, but then the charges were dropped. A lot of us are waiting for him to be rearrested. Any day we pray in Jesus' name. That's a lot of our prayer. But down in San Antonio, the San Antonio Gardenia Fine Arts Club hosted its 62nd annual coronation at the beautiful St. Anthony Hotel. We'll hear a lot of ritzy clubs involved in this case with the Simpsons, and the daughter was crowned queen during the annual celebration. The club's mission says it's to further interest in the fine arts by providing fine arts recognition to students within the San Antonio area and to promote within the membership. Indeed, this daughter's very talented. I have looked at a lot of her designer clothes and her fine arts studies and her studies in Paris. But Brad and Suzanne were pictured with 3 of their children that day. Reportedly, they have 4 children, and oh, it's so heartbreaking. The youngest child is only 5 years old. Now, in this photo, she is holding a little girl, and of course, I'll blur out all the faces of the children. I'm assuming that's their youngest, and I'm thinking, what kind of man would harm this mother of 4? I'm not sure if some of the older children were from a previous marriage or relationship from Brad or Suzanne. I've been digging and digging. There's a lot of links below so I can give credit where credit is due, to Facebook groups, to this scene in SA, to Web Sleuths, and a lot of other Texas area news organizations. And we also see photos from this summer in 2024 where their daughter was celebrating a "Come on Barbie, let's go party" scene in SA, San Antonio. So, Suzanne has been missing since Sunday, October 6th. Technically, she wasn't reported missing by Brad, her husband, until Monday, October 7th, when Suzanne didn't pick up their youngest child. But you will see a lot of people believe she went missing technically Sunday night because there was an altercation, there was an argument. I've watched a press conference. I even translated the end of the press conference, which was in Spanish, into English using my dubbing software. And so take it with a grain of salt as always, but it does seem to line up with what authorities have already told us. They showed us a picture of Suzanne leaving this ritzy Argyle club Sunday night. Apparently there was some kind of argument. I believe Suzanne was there with her child. They were celebrating some type of a birthday party or something. Brad and Suzanne, it sounds like they arrived at this Argyle club, this private club, separately. There was some kind of argument. It did not turn physical there. I shouldn't say unfortunately, but part of me is thinking, I wish it had turned physical there in front of people. Maybe the cops would have been called there, but they weren't called there. So the couple went home, not far away. They live in this beautiful home on Almost Drive, not far away from the Argyle Club, and that's where it turned physical. We're going to learn about Suzanne's phone being found about a mile away from home, her husband's movements in his truck, and just how much cops are looking for witnesses who may have seen the movements of this truck. Now, they've been honing down their search area, so I'm holding out hope that they will really find Suzanne. Of course, everyone wants her to be found alive, but with this neighbors witnessing the physical altercation that took place Sunday night after they left the Argyle Club, after the argument, and Brad grabbed Suzanne by her torso and took her down to the ground, I do believe. Unfortunately, that neighbor did not call police. That's why I said if something had happened at the club, if it were physical, maybe police could have thwarted whatever happened to Suzanne later. So let's get into it. On October 8th, 2024, I caught a few screenshots. I was looking all over. I've been researching for days this case. I caught a few screenshots of Instagram stories, and one of them read, "Reward missing person Suzanne Clark Simpson, last seen October 6th at 9 p.m. So that was Sunday night. Please call AHPD with any information. Very worried about Suzanne, Nick's Realty Company." So Suzanne is obviously a realtor, and we're going to get into all her husband's shenanigans, skullduggery as they call it, throughout all his businesses, all his lawsuits, all of his shenanigans. I caught a screenshot of another heartfelt Instagram story that night, October 8th. It read, "Please help me find my mom. I love you so much. Please come home. Report anything to San Antonio police. Keep my mom in your prayers." Now that one was pretty heartbreaking. Now Brad has not been charged with murder or anything like that, but he has been charged with family violence, and we can kind of, put the ducks in a row here to think about what likely happened. He's not talking. I will play that Spanish translation of the presser because it gave a little bit of shades of different information about what happened to Suzanne. A little bit different from the English translation. We learned that there was this altercation, there was an argument at the Argyle Club, and apparently the argument went on into the night as the couple got home. And there's the photo, the last photo of Suzanne wearing a pretty black dress and her shoes at that point. At some other point during the night, apparently she was without shoes. It's not clear what happened.
Can you give us a summary in Spanish?
Yes, but
Do you want to take a break earlier?
the thing I haven't
Goodbye and see you next time.
Yes, this started with me at night, and there was a fight, but not physical, more like a strong argument in public in Alamo Heights. So many people saw they were in it, and then later it appears they were fighting. The man and the woman here in Alamo Heights, dare I say, in Alamo's part, and she was trying to get away from him and physically run, and he was holding her back.
Tell us, what is the latest information you have about her? What have you come to share with us about her?
Yes, what we have, and we pointed out a photo is, you can see better online, the clothes he wore and the dress, how she was dressed. We thought that possibly she was hurt later that night on Sunday, so maybe someone saw her. Anywhere, and they say I saw her on Sunday, Monday morning around, and she wasn't well, something like that. Possibly if she had the same clothes, well, it's possible.
And what message do you have for the community?
That first of all, domestic violence is very important. We hear about it all the time. And it affects all the children, people at work, neighbors and all that. And we really need to start talking to your neighbors and friends and with someone if that's happening in your family.
And a message for Susan if she's scared.
Yes. Well, if she's scared and in a place, pass the message that we want her to know. We will take care of her the best we can, protect her with everything we can, because we know it's a very serious situation.
Finally, tell us about Bratel. Has he been cooperating with you, or is it still the same
No.
situation?
Brad is not talking to us. He doesn't want to talk to us and doesn't want to help us find her. He doesn't
Thank you
want
very
to.
much.
One would think he would want to, a husband would want to ask us something. We're here, and so far he hasn't asked us anything about how, if we're finding anything or something like that.
Do his behaviors perhaps raise your suspicions
Of
towards
course,
him?
it's natural, our suspicion is high, but at the same time, we want to explore all possibilities. There are cases where something very strange happens, and someone we didn't expect saw her walking and picked her up and took her, something like that. Many things can happen.
Well, Mr. Jensen, haven't you noticed any movement?
You're dropping the ball.
Okay, Miss, hasn't he physically shown concern for his wife?
No, nothing like that, no. Next time, I think we'll have more information. But that's all we have for
Could
now.
you show us the picture one more time, please?
Yes, of course. This is a picture of her from Sunday night. It's not a very good picture, but it looks fine on the internet. She was in a black dress looking nice.
Bye, thank you.
So thanks to everyone, right?
Damn, that's
Thank you very much. Thanks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
See you next time.
But Brad was born on December 30th, 1970, so he's 53 years old. So again, this is another attractive couple, a couple with money, it appears, in their 50s. Now, according to News 4 WOAI San Antonio, there's this video I've linked to. It's called Retired FBI Special Agent Gives Insight on How Missing Persons Investigations Work. Well, according to that video, it says, as for Brad Simpson, at the end of the video, it says, we have learned he's changed his attorney to a Bexar County public defender, and that ATF has placed a detention hold on him should he post bail. That means he could be transferred into the custody of the U.S. Marshals. So a couple of things tell us here that Brad is pretty much out of money. So no matter how much money the couple may have had and lived in this fancy $1.3 million home, and again, this is no shade to Suzanne or anyone, it's just trying to discuss the facts of the case and determine what may have happened. If he's changed his attorney to a Bexar County public defender as opposed to a private attorney, chances are he doesn't have a lot of money for a private attorney's retainer. He can't most likely afford to hire some fancy criminal defense attorney like Barry Morphew did out in Colorado. Didn't help Barry Morphew on his latest $15 million lawsuit. Thank the Lord. Now, as for Brad Simpson, the ATF placing a detention hold on him, it leads us to believe, what else did they find? The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, did they find some kind of illegal firearms, or what is this hold? There's obviously a lot going on. So his bail is $2 million. Brad's bail is $2 million, but I don't think he'll be posting that anytime soon. I'm not sure if it's a 10% or all cash or what. If he does post that bail, it looks like the marshals might grab him. So it seems like this Brad Simpson, he's being uncooperative. It seems like he is going to stay in custody. According to that Spanish to English translation of that presser, Brad does not seem concerned about Suzanne. He hasn't been asking questions about her. He's been uncooperative. Now, he did talk to his brother. We'll read a statement where Brad did apologize for all the trouble he's caused. So it took forever to find this man on VineLink. I kept checking. He wasn't there. I couldn't find him in custody. And then I found different links, thanks to Web Sleuths, links of when he was in one jail, transferred to the next. Because when they picked him up, he wasn't in Bexar County, as I understand it. His name is Brad Chandler Simpson, and I've got his booking number, his SID. He's a white male, again, born in 1970, December 30th, almost a New Year's Eve baby. This says his intake date was Thursday, October 10th. Technically, he was arrested early Wednesday morning around 2 a.m. But then he was transferred from one jail to another. Unlawful restraint, he's got a Class A misdemeanor, he's got some other charges here. They live in this beautiful home in the 500 East block of Olmos in Olmos Park, Texas. So he's charged with unlawful restraint and assault that causes bodily injury to a family member. Unfortunately, even a child, one of their children, witnessed this as well. Now it says his booking date into the Bexar County Jail was October 10th. So that should have been Thursday at 9:02 p.m. Central Time. So I have all these links below. The arresting agency initially was the Kendall County Sheriff's Office because apparently they have property in a different area. I believe he was near that area when he was arrested. He was booked October 9th at 4:02 a.m. Now this neighbor heard screams according to the expressnews.com. Please go visit them below, and they're behind a paywall to get all their information. This neighbor heard screams before Suzanne, a San Antonio real estate agent, went missing. So Brad has been charged with family violence in connection with her disappearance, but not murder yet as of this recording. They showed photos of a friend, Heather Affleck, tearfully embracing another friend after a news conference on the search for her friend, Suzanne Clark Simpson. Obviously, Suzanne was very well loved. It says the husband of a missing real estate agent from Olmos Park has been arrested on a charge of family violence in connection with the disappearance of his wife, Suzanne Clark Simpson. Brad Chandler Simpson, 53, was arrested early Wednesday morning by Kendall County Sheriff's deputies and charged with unlawful restraint and assault causing bodily injury to a family member. He's being held, at that point, he was being held in the Kendall County Jail. We know he's been transferred now. His bail was set at $2 million. Thankfully, it was set pretty high. And in that Spanish language presser, we heard them say she was trying to get away from him. And that's what's so heartbreaking and sad. She's relatively petite. We're going to talk about her being, shorter and about 140 pounds. And I'm not sure how tall or big Brad is, but by him being able to grab his wife's torso and take her down is just, heartbreaking. But the Bexar County magistrate signed a warrant for Brad's arrest based on an affidavit of probable cause filed by a Texas Ranger who was assisting the Olmos Park Police Department. So I've been trying to get my hands on that affidavit and putting in public records requests for a lot of information in this case. We'll see what I get. So they were investigating Suzanne's disappearance. Now, this man who lives across the street from the couple's sumptuous home, as they call it, on East Olmos Drive at the southwestern edge of the densely wooded Olmos Basin, told investigators he heard two people arguing between 10 and 11 p.m. on Sunday. So the neighbor looked outside and saw the Simpsons, quote, involved in a physical altercation. The neighbor said he saw Brad grab his wife by the torso and pull her down as she tried to get away. So I'm wondering, was she running away from him and then did he reach out and just pull her down? They allegedly struggled for about a minute. Now, it's not clear if this neighbor called 911 or not. A lot of people are bemoaning the fact that he didn't, and I guess they're making assumptions that he didn't. I've FOIA'd for the 911 calls, anything in relation to this case, everything. I haven't received anything yet. So I shouldn't assume like others assume, why didn't he call 911? But the assumption is there because I don't think a welfare check was done that night to see, okay, is Suzanne okay? She wasn't reported missing until the next day. But we don't know why people don't call 911. They say if you see something, say something. And a lot of people are saying, yes, you can call in as an anonymous tipster. I know there are different ways to make anonymous reports. No matter what, if we see a neighbor, we see a person in danger, we see this altercation taking place, we witness a man pulling his wife down by the torso, or did he pull her down? Yeah, it says pull her down, grab his wife by the torso and pull her down as she tried to get away. I'm assuming that means he pulled her down to the ground. But if we witness that kind of physicality, we do want to call 911. It won't always be anonymous. I know some people know that. There's ways of discovering who called 911, and maybe this person was afraid. I don't know. Maybe they were afraid of Brad and they just didn't. We'll get more information. But the affidavit says Brad was clearly attempting to keep Suzanne from running away. A short time later, the neighbor then heard 2 or 3 screams from a wooded area near his home. Oh, isn't that horrible? So did Suzanne just run off into the woods trying to get away from Brad? And did he take her life in the woods and then transport her body somewhere? That's what I'm thinking. It says about an hour later, the neighbor allegedly saw Brad's truck, a black GMC pickup, leave their home, and the truck returned an hour or 2 later. So a lot of people are thinking that's when he disposed of Suzanne's body. Now the truck looks nice and new, and cops are saying, look, we have the truck in custody. A lot of people got confused over that point. They have Brad's truck in custody. They just want any witnesses who Sunday night, I guess especially, or even Monday too, sometimes people return to the scene of the crime. Anywhere you've seen movements on that truck, please tell police. If you've witnessed him driving anywhere, especially Sunday night, even Monday, I guess, anytime before he got arrested, please tell police. Valid tips. They've gotten like over 100 tips, probably a lot more by now. They've gotten all these tips, but they just want to know the movements of that truck. I feel like they've gotten it. I hope they've gotten the Burla report. That truck looks pretty new, pretty nice, so it should have a lot of navigation activity. They can pull the black box. Hopefully they know his movements, and maybe that's what's been leading them and guiding cops to search all these specific places I've been seeing. The last known activity on Suzanne's cell phone was at 7:15 a.m. Monday near a business parking lot in Almos Park.
Her phone was found near her home on McCullough, just a half a mile or so from her home on Almos.
Now we're going to talk about this reporter who says Suzanne's cell phone was indeed found about a half a mile away from their home. It says there's been no more activity since this last known ping. So that was Monday, 7:15 a.m. near a business parking lot. Now I'm wondering, did Brad have Suzanne's cell phone that morning? Did he toss it somewhere that Monday morning during her would-be normal routine in order to make it seem like Suzanne was abducted or something? But there's been no more activity since this last known ping. At the time of this affidavit, there have been no signs of life from Suzanne. This ranger filed that affidavit at 12:42 a.m. Wednesday. Technically, that's almost more like Tuesday night, just right after midnight. He's filing that affidavit. Now, the Express News article went on to talk about the Simpsons and their gorgeous 3,672 square foot mansion on East Almos. It's valued at $1.3 million, according to the Bear Appraisal District. Suzanne and Brad bought this property in 2014, so it's been 10 years they've been in this gorgeous home. Of course, I've had to search it out, and I saw they have a pool and everything. Here's the timeline. It was Sunday when Brad and Suzanne attended that party at the Argyle, exclusive members-only club event venue, only about a mile from their home. Now that next day, that Monday, Brad told investigators that at 3 p.m. on Monday, staff members at his daughter's school, Howard Elementary, called him to report, oh, Suzanne hasn't picked up your 5-year-old, as she's the one who usually picked up the daughter from school. Now the affidavit says Brad was uncooperative during the investigation and failed to attend the scheduled follow-up interview. So he must have had an initial interview, I'm assuming. They talk about this in the presser. I'm not sure if they talked to him on the phone or in person. I'm not sure what time Brad called to report Suzanne missing on Monday and how that call sounded. Did he call 911? Did he call a non-emergency line or what? But it's that same, all these cases just remind me of each other. It's always when a child isn't picked up from school, generally, that someone's notified, like the Madeline Soto case. Everyone waited until, it's time for her to come out of school. Whoops, she's missing. And now in this case, where Suzanne would have normally picked up their 5-year-old from Howard Elementary, No one picked up the 5-year-old. Suzanne is missing. Investigators learned that Brad had gone out to a ranch that he owns in Bandera County and, quote, appeared to be separating himself from his family. Now, does that mean that someone else had the 5-year-old? I don't know if someone eventually went to pick up the 5-year-old. Did Brad have another family member pick up the 5-year-old? Did he go out to the ranch by himself? I have so many questions. That's why I'm requesting so much info. Olmos Park Police Chief Fidel Villegas, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Villegas, he interviewed Simpson's brother, this Barton or Bart T. Simpson. Oh, you can't help but think of the Simpsons with these names. His name is Bart Simpson, literally. He told him that Brad had called him and apologized for all the problems he had caused, according to the affidavit. So that sounds like almost a confession there. Brad is calling his brother Bart and is saying, I'm sorry for all the problems I caused. Well, if he's so sorry, just tell police what actually happened and tell them where you put Suzanne, Brad. The affidavit details info investigators gathered from staff members at Howard Elementary. This is what's sad. The couple's daughter told staff that her parents had been fighting and that her father had struck her mother in the face and had taken away her cell phone. So this, God bless this poor little 5-year-old girl, saw her parents fighting, saw her dad hit her mom in the face and take her cell phone away. And there's going to be more. Suzanne even called her own mother and talked about the injuries that Brad caused her. And it's sad so many people are coming down on the victim's loved ones or the victim's witnesses or whatever. Like, why didn't this person call 911? We don't know yet who called 911 or who didn't or why. The Kendall County Sheriff's deputies arrested Simpson again around 2 a.m. on Wednesday after he drove away from his ranch in Bandera County. So they had a watch on him. Multiple agencies, including Olmos Park PD, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and the Texas Rangers are searching for his wife everywhere. So there was a briefing, that presser on Wednesday, where they talked about finding a couple of items in the woods, but he was saying they weren't connected. This article is saying they couldn't confirm if they were connected. If you watch the whole presser, I don't know how much I'll include in here, there was confusion because they talked about clothes being found and potentially a gun being found, but I took it as they weren't connected. They were still going through forensics and everything. When it came time for the reporters to ask questions about it, it sounded like a bit of confusion, like, wait a minute, you have her clothes? One reporter was asking, okay, if you have her clothes, does that mean Suzanne is naked? And I don't fault that reporter for asking that question because as they were understanding it is they thought the chief was saying, we found her clothes. And so the reporter was asking, well, is Suzanne going to be naked? And he was reiterating, no, we don't believe those are connected to this case. And even people were getting confused when the chief was saying, okay, if you saw the truck, Sunday night or whatever, let us know. And so I've read so many comments online, people were thinking, oh, the truck is missing, but that's not what he was saying. So some people just take things the wrong way. But Suzanne is 5 feet 5 inches tall. She weighs 140 pounds, has hazel eyes and brown hair. So they show her last seen wearing that long black dress and she has black heels. So that's according to a post by the city of Alamo Heights, and that's where the Argyle is located, that club. And so I guess at the briefing at the presser, a group of Suzanne's friends were there to hear the details, and some were getting emotional. They were comforting one another as they listened to the sad updates. They say on social media, Suzanne is referring to her 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. So I've seen the boy, he looks relatively young. I think I saw some sports photos or something of him, and he looked like he was still in high school to me. But the arrest affidavit says that Suzanne and Brad have 2 children together. So I'm not sure if the 2 youngest are their biological children and the 2 oldest perhaps might be children from previous marriages or relationships. But if anyone has information about where Suzanne could be, they're asking to contact the Olmos Park Police at 210-822-2000. So they've been digging into Brad's history, according to staff writer Patrick Danner, dug into what we know about Brad, the husband of Suzanne, and how he's invested in so many different private partnerships and how he's been sued by American Express twice. He's been sued twice by American Express, allegedly failing to pay his credit card bills. This article talks about how Brad and Suzanne lived in one of the toniest neighborhoods near Contour Drive, again on the edge of that scenic Almost Basin. It does look really beautiful. So, of course, we dig into the whole story, the finances, because everything surrounding a couple may have played into, not an excuse for any violence, but may have played into the state of the marriage, any stressors, or figure out what's happening. So Brad's been an investor in numerous private partnerships in real estate, construction. For 10 years, he was a property manager for Cotter and Sons. It's a San Antonio company that owned big office buildings. While he was working there, Brad became embroiled in this nasty legal dispute with his employer and its founder and namesake, this James F. Cotter guy. And we'll talk about American Express suing him as well. But Brad is linked to 15 Texas companies. Most of them have gone out of business, according to the Texas Secretary of State. I'm not sure which ones were his LLCs. It says 4 of his limited liability companies, Nick's Commercial, which sounds close to Nick's Real Estate, so I don't know if him and Suzanne kind of collabed on working for that company. There's one I can't even pronounce, SRS Hydroline, Quorum Real Estate Partners Management, and Bandina Falls. Those are still listed as active. Bandina Falls bought a residential property in the city of Bandera from Brad's mother, Tommy Deanne Simpson, in 2015. I think I saw a photo of her. The 3-acre property on Highland Drive near the Medina, do you pronounce it Medina River down there? We have a similarly spelled city here, but we pronounce it Medina in Ohio. So that Medina River property near there has an appraised value of $579,200. It includes a 2,600 square foot building. I'm wondering if the tendency for people to work from home now and a lot of office buildings being emptier, does that cause the downfall? Well, anyway, it looks like some machinations were going on here with Brad, but he ended up getting out of this part of it with Cotter and Sons. Court records show that Brad worked at Cotter and Sons, Inc. from 2002 to 2012, so those are the 10 years he worked there. James F. Cotter is a real estate tycoon. He owned 66 properties in 6 states. Among his holdings were Twin Alamo Towers along Northeast Loop 410 and the 2 petroleum towers just around the corner on Tesoro Drive. In 2012, there was a janitorial company called BJ Corp. doing business as National Business Service. They sued Cotter and Sons, alleging that it failed to pay for cleaning services at various buildings. BJ said it had negotiated its cleaning contract with Brad and Cotter's son, James Val Cotter, who were both vice presidents at Cotter and Sons. So Brad was this vice president along with this James guy at Cotter and Sons. But BJ learned later that neither Brad nor Val had the authority to sign contracts. In addition to suing the company, BJ sued both men for fraud. So both men were sued for fraud, but then the matters got really complicated. In 2013, Cotter and Sons filed his own suit against Brad. Wow, the company he worked for? Yeah, so he was gone from there by then. He was gone by 2012. So the very next year, 2013, Cotter and Sons filed its own suit against Brad, alleging that he ripped off his own employer several years earlier by forming a janitorial services company and hiring it to work for Cotter and Sons, and then charging above market rates. Wow, so the company he's working for, they're using some other janitorial service, so Brad goes and forms his own company, which he created in 2009 called Premier Facility Solutions of San Antonio, or PFS. So he creates this own cleaning company and then charges his own company above rates to pay his own janitorial company. That's just such shadiness. After James Cotter discovered Brad's connection to this PFS cleaning place, he told Brad to fire PFS and hire another firm to handle the work. That's according to the Cotter and Sons lawsuit. The lawsuit claimed that Brad had engaged in further skullduggery. I had to look that up. Skullduggery. I just call it shadiness. I'm going to look it up again because I like I like that word for some reason.
Skullduggery.
Skullduggery, underhanded or unscrupulous behavior, trickery. The reason all this is important is because the way a man or woman or whomever handles business often is the way they handle their entire life. You know, generally if a person is shady and undercutting and unscrupulous in their business, they might bring that same traits, that same characteristics, everything to their marriage, to their parenthood. So the lawsuit says Brad engaged in further skullduggery involving BJ Corporation. According to the Cotter & Sons lawsuit, Brad made a deal with BJ that called on the firm to pay $100,000 to his own PFS assets. But the only assets PFS had were its cleaning contracts with Cotter & Sons. So Cotter & Sons sued Brad for commercial bribery and breach of fiduciary duty. It said further that he should be liable for damages BJ was seeking from Cotter & Sons. Brad disputed the allegations against him. The case went to trial in 2015. A jury decided that Cotter & Sons should pay BJ more than $930,000 in damages, attorney fees, and interest. Woo, that's nearly $1 million. I'm sure Brad's former employee is ruining the day they ever hired him. But the jury determined that neither Cotter & Sons nor BJ should collect anything from Brad or Val Cotter. So he kind of got away with that. So Simpson, according to his attorney, his nice San Antonio attorney, Henry B. Gonzalez, I'm sure he's a private attorney, quote, this attorney said Brad won at the trial court and the case was ultimately resolved 100% in his favor. He didn't have to pay anything. He didn't have to admit to anything. But the case was appealed to the Texas Supreme Court, and court records show the parties reached a confidential settlement in 2018. So on appeal, Brad may have had to pay something. We just don't know what because it's confidential. But he may have had to pay something, and his PFS company stopped doing business in 2010, and James F. Cotter died in 2017 at 83. And his heirs have been battling over his estate. But that wasn't it. Brad may have gotten away with that. I don't know how much the settlement was. I don't know how that impacted him and Suzanne's life. I don't know how much of the family household income Suzanne was carrying. I don't know if she had threatened to leave him. I don't know if violence has impacted their marriage. I believe it's a 22-year marriage. But let's get to the credit card delinquencies. Yeah, I could relate to some of this. I've been sued by American Express, and thank God I was able to pay off something like $4,700 I owed them in a business debt on a business card, and thank God for clearing all that up before it went too far. But it went far with Brad. American Express sued Brad and one of his companies, Live Oak Investments, in 2019, alleging that Brad and Live Oak failed to pay nearly $14,700 in charges. And they even get into, God bless this writer, Patrick Danner. He really got into the details. He says Brad ran up the bill on his Amex Business Platinum card with a $13,000 spending limit. Brad liked to dine out. In the late summer of 2018, he spent $210.33 at Mary Lou's Cafe in Almos Park, $175.70 at Botica, and $174.23 at Cured. All these high-end eateries at the Pearl. And he shelled out a combined $175 on 2 occasions at Zushi in Lincoln Heights. But Amex, American Express, won a default judgment for that unpaid bill, plus charges in 2020, so that's just 4 years ago, after Brad just failed to respond to the lawsuit. Yeah, no, for mine, when the process server showed up, he was very nice at my garage, and he just handed the envelope to me. I'm like, thank you. I learned how to respond to a lawsuit. Go right downtown and then just pay that sucker off. But Brad ignored his lawsuit. I mean, all these charges, like nearly $15,000. But the parties eventually reached an agreement that required Brad and Live Oak to only pay $7,500, spread out over 12 monthly payments. So that judgment was satisfied in 2022. So only 2 years ago, he finally was done with all that. So no matter how a person might look with their gorgeous $1.3 million house, you never know. They may have been sued by Amex and paying off $7,500 over 12 months. It kind of proves there's money problems here. I think maybe perhaps if Brad had the money, maybe he would have just paid it off in one fell swoop. Maybe he's the type who thought, I don't need to pay it off. But American Express sued Brad again in early 2020 for allegedly stiffing the company again on almost $11,100 in charges on his Business Gold rewards card, which had a $10,700 spending limits, and both accounts were canceled. So whoa, even though their house is gorgeous, obviously there's money issues. And I even dug into their daughter and her blog and her fashion line. She's very creative. But the latest are the searches. Where could Suzanne be? Law enforcement and search and rescue teams gathered near a wooded area. So this is according to the Bernie Star. I had to put myself a note. It looks like it's Bourne, but it's pronounced Bernie, that area. So they gathered, all these search and rescue teams gathered near a wooded area off Interstate 10 on Friday afternoon, but we don't know if they found anything. People have been questioning the Texas Rangers as the lead authority on the search. There was a command post set up. We could see it yesterday around 2 p.m. on the grounds behind the towers of Bernie Strip Mall at 1595 South Main Street. So people are speculating, could Suzanne be here? You know, I don't know if they're checking different pings or stops. I hope they have all of his, Burla report stops. Maybe these are places that Brad stopped. I don't know. Brad was taken into custody after a traffic stop on I-10 in Kendall County. So that's after he was leaving that cabin. So Simpson's ties to Bernie and Kendall County include a brother, Bart Simpson, who lives in the area. The brother-in-law of Suzanne released a statement via Facebook this week. He said, "Our family is devastated by the disappearance of our beloved Suzanne. We're doing everything we can to fully cooperate with law enforcement, and our first priority is to find her and bring her home." So, at 3:15 p.m. yesterday, Texas Ranger Kevin Wright confirmed the search had been called off for the day. He didn't specify if they would return to that location Saturday. I don't think they have. I think they're at this other place. It's a lot of rumors going around. Pay no attention to this woman, I believe her name is Teresa, posting horrible things about Suzanne on Facebook. I believe she has mental health issues. She was throwing a bunch of confusion into the case because she's Suzanne's sister, so people thought, oh, this woman would really know what she's talking about. She's been posting off-the-wall stuff. She had even posted that Suzanne had been found not alive, and it was horrible, and people were taking it and running with it because it's her sister. But no, I think she just has problems. But there's a reporter, a journalist, war correspondent, Sig Christensen. He was on Ashley Banfield. He's a great reporter. He tweeted a video. "This morning I went to a house outside of Bandera owned by Brad and Suzanne Simpson." So she's the missing realtor. He's in jail. But Sig said, "When I introduced myself to a woman inside the home, she said, 'No, this is not Brad's house,' and slammed the door in my face. She was quite angry." Why? That's an interesting question Sig is asking. He also wrote, "Police search Friday for missing realtor Suzanne, this time in a wooded area inside Bernie's city limits. We have no word on why they chose that place, but it's not far from the Simpsons' weekend home outside Bandera." And Sig also said, "Here's a look at the field and wooded area that authorities were searching Friday near Bernie's city limits. Texas search and rescue volunteers were out there trying to find Suzanne starting at 7 a.m. Most wore protective leggings to ward off the prospect of snake bites." So who bless these people searching for her in dangerous situations. Sig also tweeted that DPS, Bernie Police, Kendall County Fire, and EMS are at a strip mall just inside Bernie's city limits with the Texas Search and Rescue looking in a nearby wooded area for missing realtor Suzanne. The search began at 7 and appeared to continue in the afternoon. Now, News 4 San Antonio a few hours ago says the search continues. The Bernie Police Department and the Texas Search and Rescue team continue to search for Suzanne near the tower at Bernie Shopping Center on Friday. So what else is happening today on Saturday? I don't know. Oh, we will have an update there, but first let me tell you about her phone being found. Sue Kalberg. Sue Kalberg is a multimedia journalist at KENS 5 in San Antonio, Texas. And at the 13:20 mark of this long video, the reporter Sue says, quote, her phone was found near her home on McCullough, about a half mile from her house on Almos. So I hope they're able to garner stuff from the phone. She's saying Suzanne's phone was found. And I looked up McCullough Avenue. It's indeed only about a 1-minute drive from their home, about 0.4 miles away. So I really hope authorities can glean a lot from Suzanne's phone. Search crews were at that site in Bernie, and they were just looking almost all day. And when they call off the search, some people thought mistakenly that they had found Suzanne. There was a search that took place near the Alamo Fiesta RV Resort in Bernie, Texas. It would have been about a 35-minute drive, about 26.7 miles away from Suzanne and Brad's home. Now, the only update I've seen thus far, I've been doing so much research, today, Saturday, October 12th, the search for the missing mother, Suzanne, in the Almos Park Basin area has ended, according to DPS. Law enforcement and search teams they're focusing the search for Suzanne solely in Bernie. So I wonder if they have some kind of info that just is leading them to stay in Bernie and find Suzanne. I hope they're just honing down and the Lord just gives them the right area to look. So basically, Brad, thankfully, is still in jail on bonds totaling $2 million. After he was arrested, and he is scheduled for a bond hearing Tuesday morning at the Bexar County Jail's auxiliary court. So I don't know how much we'll be able to see. I'll bet you a lot of news crews will go there. I don't know if they'll go there live or if it's streamed anywhere online. I couldn't find. I'll look more on the Bexar County websites to see what I can find. But let's close with ask and you will receive. John 16:32-33. This was a good verse we did the other day in prison ministry. And then I was watching the Aaron Hernandez story, really good, on Hulu. And John 16:33, that's what is his name? That football player who wore the things under. I loved him. He played with Aaron Hernandez. And I know his name is on the tip of my tongue. Tim Tebow. I didn't realize how much Tim Tebow had an impact or tried to positively influence Aaron Hernandez. Such a sad story. And I do remember Aaron Hernandez, like he had a Bible. I saw the crime scene photos when he took his own life and I saw blood on his Bible. Oh, sad. But let's just read John 16:32-33. Look, an hour is coming, Jesus said, and has already come when you will be scattered. He was talking to his disciples. Each to his own home, and you will leave me all alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In me, in Jesus, we have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take courage, I have overcome the world. And we learn that also means Jesus has won the case. It's finished. He's done it for us. And we have peace in Jesus, even though in the world we can have tribulation. And boy, do I feel sorry for Suzanne's loved ones and kids. I mean, when they find her, I already feel like she's probably not alive. Whatever happened, I feel like Brad did it to her that night. I just tried to look through as many publicly available photos I could find, just searching like, why would you do that to this beautiful woman, your wife? Some people speculate, is Brad an alcoholic and a nurse just looking at his photos like, what's up with this guy? And people are speculating it was a heat of passion thing. It was some kind of argument happened, and who knows what happened. We don't know what happened. I'm reading horrible comments, and there's so many lies. I don't know why people get involved in crime cases and automatically lie. I believe it's probably lies, because I couldn't find anything about this. People are commenting on, this one person's commenting on the news org's videos like, well, a new article has come out saying Suzanne, it's not always the husband's fault. Suzanne was having an affair with some 19-year-old college student, and I could find nothing to corroborate that. And to me, even if it were true, which I doubt if it is, but if it were true, that gives no right for her to be killed, if she were killed or harmed or anything, by her husband. I think it's just this red pill manosphere thing that's coming around where some people feel like they have to put out false information as if I don't know why, to take this Brad Simpson side. Who knows who's doing that? But it does get confusing when we're researching, we're trying to get truth, and so many people are trying to throw their spin on things. I'm sorry, it's just pure evil. If this man harmed his wife for whatever reason, took away a mother from 4 children, I don't know their ages, but that's just evil, that's just wrong, no matter what happened. And so it's just sad. But we end with hope here. In Jesus, that's my prayer for Suzanne's friends, her children, trying to get through this horrible time. In Jesus, you have peace, no matter who leaves, no matter who scatters, no matter who's gone. In Jesus, you have peace because God is with him. You'll have peace in Jesus. In the world, you'll have tribulation, but Jesus literally says, take courage. I have overcome the world. And so that means have confidence and just rest on those words that Jesus won the case. He's overcome the world. God knows what happened to Suzanne. I pray for authorities to have favor to find her and for her to get her justice. And we still wait for Suzanne Morphew to get her justice, and so many other missing people that are never found or their stories are never told. But thank you so much for watching all this. I will try and keep updated, of course, in this case, and of course Monday with Stefan Stern's hearing allegedly happening on Monday at 9 a.m. and so many other cases. Thank you for watching and take care.